holding, portfolio for three ministries. So allow me, and the most recent portfolio that he holds is over the three ministries. At 14, he went on to agriculture and resource economics on a Fulbright scholarship.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bulavinaka to you all. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you all and thank you for making yourself available, our own staff, for this very important investigations workshop for the Department of Environment and Enforcement Officers. It also gives me great pleasure to be here with you all this morning to officially open this workshop that is jointly organized by Department of Environment and the Office of the DPP. Ladies and gentlemen, we policy makers make policies and pass it to the executive arm. So that we've got the legislature, the executive arm, and of course the judiciary. So we, the policy makers, we make policies and we pass it to the executive arm, the permanent secretary, you all, to execute that particular policy. The execution involves investment of resources by government, by the civil society, and the private sector as well as service provision by all these players, the private sector, the civil society, NGOs. They all do their own, play their part in the entire economy. But while doing this, there are certain inherent compliance frameworks that needs to be adhered to. So everyone, the business sector, the NGO, farmers, they have to conduct their business in a manner in compliance with the supreme legislation, which is the Constitution, then the other legislations that fall in place as a result of the Constitution. Now, for adherence to this compliance framework, the best solution is self-compliance. Everyone understands the legislation, everyone understands the framework, and everyone then develops their own, conduct, how they should conduct their business, or when they provide a particular service, and they self-comply to it. And some institutions that develop a self-regulating guideline and pass it to those players, the private sector players. I know some years back when I was at Commerce Commission, I said, look, we really cannot afford to interfere and regulate the business sector in various ways. So what we do, indirectly we develop a self-regulating guideline. At times you really don't have that legislative authority to regulate that particular aspect of conduct. So smartly, what we did, we developed a self-regulating guideline for landlords, for supermarket owners, for contractors. And I said, look, this is a guideline that we want you to conduct yourself. If you don't, then that means you are in fact breaching some kind of a guideline. So in the absence of a legislative framework, we kind of tried to use that self-regulating guideline. So that is the best solution, if people understand how they should conduct themselves and they start to self-regulate in a manner in which there is a Pareto optimal solution. No one is worse off, someone is better off. Government ideally must be ready to, so we avoid interference in the market. No government wants to interfere in the market. In fact, rightfully, you really don't want to interfere in the market. You will distort a self-market solution. So government ideally must be ready to keep a watch on the conduct of these players and deal with the insignificant breaches. Why I'm saying insignificant breaches is that I'm saying 99% of them will conform will behave as expected. But there are some outliers, 1%, 2%. That's what I'm saying. The majority, the 99%, will behave, will conform. Generally, and that's what is expected. But there may be 1 or 2%, the insignificant, the minority, who may think that, by making shortcuts, etc., they may be able to get windfall gains. It is, and generally rules and regulations are developed to deal with this minority. So it is in this regard that we need to upskill our own staff on enforcement and compliance frameworks and strategies. I note that from the program, the 2 days of activities are going to be very intensive and comprehensive. The workshop will cover enforcement and compliance related matters, including collecting evidence, types of evidence, sufficiency of evidence, preparing charge sheets, summary of facts, etc. And at the end of this workshop, you all will be familiar with conducting investigations using the respective government legislations administered by the Department of Environment, collecting credible evidence for trial preparation, advocacy to assist your fellow prosecutors to table non-compliance environmental crimes in court. So effectively what we are saying is that if it comes to that, which we want to avoid, then it should be foolproof. And I have always said to director and peers, we don't want to go to court and lose any case. No. And it's not my field, but the lawyers will tell you that one of the places people really mark up is one, process, and number two is quality of evidence. Maybe 100% sure, and I said to a senior officer, waste management, I said, we must ensure that we give the prosecutors foolproof evidence so that there's no way we should ever lose any case. You want to be 100% sure. If you want to take the case, 100% sure. So as we know that the power of law consists in its ability to redress the balance between the offenders who will power and the environment which suffer at their hands, I believe believe in the law as power for all. It is a deterrent and the ultimate weapon for environment protection officers against offenders. Indeed, when implemented equally and fairly, the law sets one standards for everyone, and everyone should be treated equally. I emphasize that to director and our staff that we ultimately we should not lose sight of the vision. All of us, if we want to succeed in what we're doing, all of us must share the common vision. What are we here for? The moment we share the common vision, all of us will fall in line. Some of us will have different ways of thinking, but eventually when we have these kinds of workshops and training, it gets individuals to fall in line with a standard procedure of doing things. All of us share common vision, but given that we come from different training, different backgrounds, different skill sets, sometimes we kind of do not conform to a particular standard operating procedure. And that is why when we have these kinds of workshops is allow you to interrogate your thinking, your ideas, and then at the end of the day, when you go out of this workshop, all of you converge and go out with one single thinking, single way of dealing with a particular issue or a compliance strategy. So today, tomorrow, thresh it out. You will have a lot of divergence of views when you start, but at the conclusion of the workshop, all of you, when you go out of this room, you should be one in terms of thinking, in terms of the strategy, in terms of the processes. So I'm told by Director Environment that this is just the beginning of many workshops planned this year to build your capacity in enforcement of the environmental laws that we have. The Department of Environment is a legislative department and is our work. We have a huge responsibility on our shoulders to ensure that our natural environment, which includes our oceans and biodiversity, are protected at all times. We have a legal and moral responsibility, and I will always argue that, look, with regard to environment, we have got a massive responsibility not only to the current generation, but future generation, that they must also have the opportunity to utilize the natural resources as we were given, must have the opportunity to access the environment in the same quality and manner that we have now. That is our moral responsibility, and we are custodian of that particular natural resource environment. So at this point, I would like to wholeheartedly thank the Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Christopher Pride, and Yogesh Prasad here for the continuous support to the Department of Environment. Often we seek their advice, their expert opinion. It's an area that we don't have expertise. So we come to them, and I want to thank you for providing that particular expertise service to us. Mr. Prasad, special thank you for coordinating this workshop. I am told that you have inspired our staff many times before, and I'm sure that our staff will, when they finish the workshop, at the end of this training workshop, they will go out with a new stock of knowledge. Anytime when you start a workshop, there is a stock of knowledge, and it's important that when they depart here with a new stock of knowledge, and that is the whole intention. So thank you, Mr. Prasad, and also to your team who are here. With these few words, I now formally declare the investigators workshop for Department of Environment and Enforcement Officers open. Thank you. Naka.